Will you tell me when we're live?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go live with a live shot right now.
Okay.
You good?
Okay. I'll start in 1 minute. Does it just automatically start at 7? Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here. We'll begin with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, liberating all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Please stand. Three bows. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us. It fills our sacred space, guards our minds from wrong thinking. The fragrance of this incense unites us with virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom. We offer it on behalf of all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for refuge. Being one with the Buddha, I resolve to each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for refuge. Being one with the Dharma, the gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for refuge. Being one with the Sangha in the spirit of universal fellowship, and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. It's what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Full and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. It's okay. Come on in. There's plenty of. You want to sit up here, or you can sit back there. It's good to see you again. It's good to see you again. Went so long without seeing anybody. So we're going to do, it's the third Wednesday of the month, so we'll do a guided meditation, 20 minutes. So if you're at home and you don't like listening to me and you want to turn your computer off for 20 minutes, you can. As the sound of the bell fades, just take a few deep breaths. Let your belly be relaxed, abdominals loose and soft, so your lungs can fill and empty completely. 3 or 4 nice deep breaths, and then just let your breath settle into a comfortable rhythm. No need to breathe any special way. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in. Breathing out, know you're breathing out. And I'd like for us to cultivate goodwill tonight, metta bhavana, cultivating goodwill. And we'll begin with ourselves with the thought, may I be happy. Just letting that thought ride on your breath silently as you exhale. And as we're thinking this, we're not thinking, may I have things that I think I need to be happy, or may I be happy at some point in the future. We really mean right now, this moment, one breath at a time, allowing that happiness that comes from within to emerge, happy in the present moment. And may I be free from animosity. If any angry thoughts arise, any feelings of ill will toward anyone, just let that thought pass. Give yourself this time free from that particular form of suffering. Freedom from anger, hatred, ill will. And may I be free from stress and affliction. So whatever arises into our awareness, sounds, physical sensations, thoughts, memories, just let them go or let them be. There's no need to cling to anything or add to it, no need to shove anything aside. Just let things pass or settle naturally, free from stress. And if we don't nurture stress, we don't create affliction. May I be free from stress and affliction. And may I look after myself with ease. Of course, we want life to go smoothly, but for now, we can look after ourselves with ease by simply bringing our attention back to our object of meditation calmly, with compassion for ourselves, even if we have to do it over and over again. Looking after myself with ease. And then call to mind a loved one, parent, child, spouse, or a teacher who's shown you a lot of kindness, someone who's very dear to you, and wish for them the same kind of happiness you'd wish for yourself. May they be happy. You can visualize them or think of their name. Imagine the warmth of your goodwill radiating out from your heart to touch them with that wish that they be happy. And free from animosity. Free from stress, afflictions. May they look after themselves with ease. Bringing to mind a friend. Visualize them or think of their name. Someone you like. Enjoy being with. And send them the wish that they be happy. Expanding your circle of goodwill out a little farther from yourself, your loved one, and now your friend. May they be happy. Free from animosity. free from stress and affliction. May they look after themselves with ease. And bring to mind someone neutral, an acquaintance, or someone that you don't really feel strongly one way or the other about. And you may not know much about them, but you know that like yourself and your friends and loved ones, they want happiness. They experience stressors that get in the way of that happiness. So send them that wish. May they be happy. Free from animosity, stress, affliction. May they look after themselves with ease. And now think of someone that you're having difficulty with. Someone adversarial or otherwise challenging for you. And send them the wish for happiness. If you encounter resistance, just notice the resistance. You don't have to feel a certain way. Just acknowledging that happiness is good for everyone. That most difficulties are caused by unskillful attempts to be happy, to be free from suffering. May they be happy, extending that radiating goodwill out a little farther to include them too. May they be happy. free from stress and affliction, free from animosity, just remembering that being able to extend kindness even to difficult people is a great strength. To be kind to others doesn't take anything away from you. May they look after themselves with ease. And finally, extending that goodwill in all directions to all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from animosity, free from stress, free from affliction. May all beings look after themselves with ease. Before I ring the bell to end the meditation, take a couple of deep breaths. Stop the process of sending out. You have an infinite store of goodwill available to you whenever you need it. You just feel that there at your heart. Bell rings the first time, bring your hands together in gasho. And when it rings the second time, bow. Nina, I'm sorry, we have a different wizard today. And so, oh, okay, did you get it fixed? Or is it me?
I don't know if that, yeah, if you can just speak up or get that closer. We don't need it any louder in the room, they just can't hear you as well at mine.
I gotcha. Is that better? I don't know. I can't get it. I can't get it just right. Yeah. That might be better. It's closer now. I didn't have the microphone quite as close to my mouth as it should have been, probably. Anyway, sorry about that, Nina. And anyone? Issues? Is that all right? Huh. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, we hadn't had that happen before. Let's do the combined dedication, and then I'll talk. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now, and reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. Well, that's weird. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized and may we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions, and for the grieving. We pray for those suffering from violence, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned, and for all refugees. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna Paramita. Sabbe sata sadahantu avera sukha jivino katang punya phalang maihang sabbe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings springing from the good we have done. I'm going to completely rearrange the liturgy next week. There's things in it that I'm still not happy with. It's okay. You'll get there. So, I just spent 20 minutes saying, may I be happy and may all beings be happy and all of that. I wish there was a better word. Happiness is really kind of a vague word, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So, and there's a couple of reasons that has come up. One is, so I was interviewed by this podcaster from the UK this week named Sophia V, if you want to listen. We talked for almost an hour and a half. It was good conversation. She was very engaged and engaging and genuinely interested in what I had to say. And she live streams on Twitch TV or something while she interviews. I don't know exactly, but so there were people asking her to ask me questions. And the question came up a couple of times, like, how do I let things go? How do I just be so free that I just let everything go so nothing bothers me? And then the other one, and I can't remember if it was her or someone else, asking about, happiness. And it's such a confusing word. We get so, I think we misunderstand it a lot because we maybe don't define it all that well. So for much of my life, I would probably not have described myself as happy. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but between family issues and some environmental things and genetic hardwiring and that kind of stuff, happiness has not been an easy thing for me to come by. But these days, and for many years now, I'd say I'm generally pretty happy, maybe even a lot happy. And my mind has been kind of a laboratory for me. And so I've reviewed a lot of the things that I've done in an attempt to figure out what it means that I can sit here and say I'm happy. So there's a lot of books on the subject. And I have several by the Dalai Lama, including The Art of Happiness, where he says happiness is important and how to be happy. And there was stuff even going back to like in the 70s when I was reading things like Bertrand Russell's The Conquest of Happiness, and several of Albert Ellis's books talk about the importance of seeking happiness and that kind of thing. But rarely do you see them define very clearly what is meant by the word happiness. And it occurred to me that maybe we should start by defining for ourselves what we mean by happy. And then see if we can figure out a way to get that. So the dictionary, by the way, defines happiness as the state of being happy, which is not particularly helpful. And then you'll see synonyms like pleasure, contentment, satisfaction, cheerfulness, merriment, joviality, and those kinds of things. And those are fine emotions, but I don't think they equate really to what we think of as happiness. They're generally short-term, kind of passing, pleasurable emotions. Or they're states that I think maybe we could say are part of happiness, but not quite the full experience. I think when someone says, may I be happy, they're generally talking about a kind of global, ongoing condition, a state. And if you read what the Buddha says about happiness, he's talking about a state of total freedom. But even the Buddha said that there were intermediate states that are still legitimate and that are worth seeking. And honestly, I think total liberation is not really what most people really want. Some of them do. In Mahayana Buddhism, after Buddhism expanded out of India into other parts of the world, I think they recognized this. They said that, we want a kind of Buddhism that everybody can experience and enjoy and benefit from. And so the Mahayana, the greater vehicle, came along and that recognized that normal human experience, not just transcending everything and becoming an arahant, but normal human experience can be a form of happiness also, and can accept that there are difficulties and we can still be happy. So, the idea of being completely unfettered doesn't really jive with the Zen idea that samsara is nirvana, that this is it. This is it. So, I think we could define happiness in terms of something that's generally pleasurable in a way that's sustainable, renewable, even self-promoting. It should be resilient and lead to more happiness, even when circumstances can be kind of difficult. So I think we want to feel good emotionally and physically, but that happiness should also be good for us, not just individually, but healthy for the circumstances in which we live and support things like our family life and our social life and our community, because that's the context in which we're going to thrive or not. And it doesn't mean walking around feeling good all the time. It doesn't mean just not caring about anything, letting everything go, being okay with whatever happens. Living authentically means that we're going to experience things that are sometimes unpleasant, and yet that's natural. I'll give you an example. So last night I went out to walk my dog, and I ran into a neighbor down the street, and he was walking a dog, and it was a different dog than I had seen him walking in the past. And so I said hello to him and asked him about the dog, and he goes, "Yeah, my other dog," he says, "a neighbor's dog killed my other dog." And as he was telling me this story, he was getting really upset, and it was clear he was very sad. And he was angry because it was because of negligence. And the neighbor's dog had to be put down as a result of this too. And so, I got sad and mad too. You know what I mean? It's a natural reaction to that. You encounter something like that, and I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, you should have equanimity for this. That would be crazy. It's a sad thing that happened. Now, you shouldn't become so desperate, that you never have another dog or whatever. You lie in bed worried about it all the time, or plotting revenge against the neighbor whose dog did it, or any of that kind of stuff. But, to respond to a bad thing with even a strong emotion is understandable and is real, is authentic. This couple came to me once who had lost a good friend and because of his drug habit. And I don't remember how he died, if it was an overdose or if it was just a related death, but it was because of drugs. And so they came to me for some help. And as we talked, they wanted to stop feeling bad. And I said, why? You wouldn't want to be okay with that. But of course, over time, that will pass. Over time, the nice thing about impermanence is that all of these feelings change over time. And you don't want them to take control of you. You want to have some way of guiding your own feelings. And so you don't let them possess you. But you can kind of direct your feelings in constructive ways. So happiness, would allow you to have some unhappiness and to recover from that. It would be a state of resilience so that, a bad thing happens and you can get over feeling bad. You can accept that bad things happen, that there are going to be difficulties, and accept and understand that doesn't dominate your life, that there's also joyful things that happen, and accept those also. So if we're happy, we're going to live in a way that feels pretty good. We get enjoyment from what we do. Our daily lives will involve cooperating with others, doing productive things, and that kind of thing. And our greater happiness is going to come when we direct our actions towards some higher purpose, something we feel gives life meaning. Our happiness is really a result of our karma. Karma means action. So our happiness is going to be the result of what we do, not our circumstances. And I think a lot of people associate happiness with material pleasures. Boy, I'd be really happy if I had a yacht or a Ferrari or whatever. But those kinds of pleasures are fleeting and really emotionally empty. As I was kind of outlining my thoughts, remember there's a Twilight Zone episode called The Other Place. Any of you ever seen it? So it's probably still out there. You can find whatever streaming services that have the Twilight Zone. It's there. It's a classic. This guy is sort of a petty criminal, and he's gotten killed robbing a bank or something like that. And so he has reappeared in the afterlife. And he's in a very nice apartment, and he's got a butler sort of looking after him. And so, he's talking to the butler, and he goes, well, this is a much nicer place than I expected, given the life that I lived. And the butler goes, yeah, okay, well, this is apparently the place you deserve. And the guy goes, well, I'm hungry. What do you do to get something to eat? He says, oh, there's food right there for you, So he's got food he loves, just shows up when he wants it. He gets a little bored. The butler goes, well, there's a sports car out front. You want to take it and go to a nightclub? And so, he goes to a nightclub, and, and the women are all beautiful. They only play songs he likes. If he gambles, he wins. It's like, wow, I'm having this great time. What did I do to deserve this? All I can remember is being a bad guy. And so he starts looking up trying to look into the records. He can't find, he goes to the Hall of Records, and he can't find anything good that he did to deserve, getting what he wants. Well, this goes on, and it starts to get a little boring. And he comes to the butler, and he goes, every time I gamble, I win. It gets so boring. He says, everything I want, I have just because I want it. It's just there. And my life has no meaning. He says, I'm not cut out for heaven. Send me to the other place. And the butler goes, what makes you think this is heaven? This is the other place. We need difficulties in order to have happiness. We need to have meaning and purpose, which often is going to entail having a tough time with some things, sometimes having obstacles, things to overcome, and things that will change. So, pleasure and suffering fall into kind of two main categories, mental and physical. And of the two, the ones that most influence our happiness are actually the mental causes. There's nothing wrong with being physically comfortable, enjoyed reasonably and responsibly. But, when we cling to those things as sources of happiness, they like the guy in the Twilight Zone episode would say, over time they can cause pain. So in fading, they become painful. So rather than cultivating positive feelings that come from externals, if we cultivate those that come from the mind, we'll actually have greater happiness. So I think most people tend to think of feeling good as being a result, positive emotions, as being sort of symptoms of happiness. But actually, happiness is a result of positive emotions. Think about what we did during the meditation. We sat and thought, may I be happy? And happiness arose as a result of that. I hope it did. Anyway, that not work out for anybody? So if we cultivate goodwill, if we cultivate gratitude by paying attention to the good that comes our way, if we cultivate serenity through meditation and acceptance and things like that, cultivate love and compassion by making a habit of wanting others to be happy, then we will experience happiness. It's fairly simple to do those things, but, it takes some effort and some practice. So, happiness takes some skill, which is kind of if there's any secrets, the secret is that happiness, living a good life, is a skill. What does it say in the Metta Sutta? This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness. Skilled in goodness. I love that little phrase, We're not just good, we develop it as a skill. And so cultivating these feelings actually reverse some of the physical effects of stress and things like that, resulting in a longer, healthier life. If you practice goodwill, you're going to probably live longer. And we create emotional resilience. And as we create emotional resilience, we create physical resilience also. So when something bad does happen, we can generally suffer less. One of the ways to do this is through engagement. Being a part of a community. I was reading Dogen earlier this week, and there's this famous thing, to study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by a myriad things. Well, how do you forget the self? Do things that are important to others. Immerse yourself in something meaningful. Immerse yourself in a community. And people with good social networks and strong ties to family and things like that tend to be happier people. So do people who attend religious services, so you're at the right place. And, in Buddhism, we go for refuge to the three treasures. The third treasure is the spiritual community. I go for refuge to this. And where a community like this comes in really handy is in helping you develop meaning. Your spiritual community should be a good framework for making life purposeful. So anyway, I hope that this was useful to you. And are there any questions or comments? Yeah.
I just finished a book about a week ago by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I cannot remember the name of it, so please don't ask. But a lot of what he talked about was happiness.
Hang on a second. Can you hand him the mic? There's a mic right there. I'm sorry. It's not that I can't hear you. It's that we want you. This way the people who are listening to the live stream can hear you also. Thank you.
Well, I was reading this book by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he's talking about happiness and mindfulness, and what he's saying in this book is you need to pay attention to a lot of little things. Pay attention to the trees and the squirrels and the birds, because we live on a pretty nice planet.
Yeah.
And we are fortunate in that. And he's saying, be mindful of that, appreciate it. And I have gotten to where when I wake up in the morning, I look around my room and I like the way my wife has it arranged, and I appreciate that, and I'm grateful to her for that. And it helps to do that. Because just living in the land, we're getting a lot of things going for us.
Yeah.
It's a nice climate. Buildings are beautiful, painted. The trees, the birds. It's very nice, and I have to admit I'm in a pretty good situation right now. It hasn't always been that way. And I'm grateful for it. And so I guess I can say in reading this and paying a little bit more attention to my situation, it makes me happier.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, life is a matter of attention. You know, what our experience of life has mostly to do with what we pay attention to. So waking up and noticing that, you know, you're in a nice place,
And
noticing that that changes your experience of life.
I have had a lot of friends who are no longer here, and I'm grateful for the fact that I'm here and have health. And
We're happy about that too, by the way.
which reminds me of what we were saying before, where we all are asking everybody to be healthy and to take care of themselves. And as you get older, that gets harder.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my colleagues today, and I said, you know, I'm not real crazy about this whole aging thing, but it, you know, I wouldn't recommend it except that there's not a better alternative. So, you know, go for it.
I wanted to mention one thing. You were talking about self-promotion. You know, happiness, you have to self-promote it. And I think it's increasingly difficult, and I think anyone can feel this that lives in a modern setting. So often we think happiness is in this external thing, and we're all kind of attached to our cell phones. We're all, you know, attached to our technology, and it seems to be increasingly harder to find that intrinsic happiness. And it's nice to hear that as a reminder, and we're all capable of that. But sometimes it's very easy to get into that pattern and realize you're seeking happiness outside of you. And that external thing, that purchase or browsing through whatever app or whatever, you know, purchase you're thinking about in the future. And before you know it, you've lost this precious moment, you know, that bird in front of you, that tree that's blossoming in front of you. And I think it's really important to remember in Buddhism, but just in life in general, you know, there has to be that self-promotion. And I'm grateful for that reminder tonight, because even practicing Buddhism, it's very easy to fall into a pattern of seeking happiness in something else. There's something I wanted to mention, going back to meditation. While we're sitting here, there's some nights when we're here, you just hear the funniest sounds outside. the brakes of a car. Sometimes someone will lay on a horn. There's all kinds of funny external sounds. I mean, there was one week where someone was like, "Hey, look, there's Buddhists in there," which I thought was pretty funny. But the awesome thing about that, the kind of teachable moment about that is you'll hear these periods where there's just this constant sound. There's squeaking tires. There's someone burning out at the red light, whatever it might be. But then there's that lull period where it's quiet. There's that stillness. And it's very much like your Buddhist practice. There's times where it's bumpy, it's rough, but then there's that great period where it's very still and you have that sense of calm. In our meditation, it's really nice to have that contrast, as Sensei Morris was saying in our practice. There's rough times, but then there's good times. And sometimes those rough times make the good times even better. So I've kind of grown to like these external sounds out here. Like there's probably a truck going by or a semi-truck, a motorcycle. But it's a really nice pattern because it's unpredictable. It kind of reminds me of the mind a little bit, where you get going this way, you get a little bit of monkey mind this way, but it's nice to come back to that stillness that is available to us in the moment. We just sometimes have to remember to self-promote it and kind of come back to it. So hopefully the noise keeps going, because in those quiet moments, it's that much better, I think.
Yeah. I actually kind of like it. When we first started meeting, we were meeting at the UU church was up on Frankfurt, and it was this A-frame house that had been converted to a church. How many of you? Some of you probably were there, yeah. And there was the room was sort of ringed with fluorescent lights, and you could hear them buzzing a little bit. And the quieter it got, the more you heard the lights buzzing. And I remember one night, after the meditation, somebody said, "Can't you do something about those buzzing bulbs?" It's like, and really, you couldn't notice it except it was so quiet, you could hear it.
The older look where we were previously, you would hear sometimes like the police cars or the fire trucks, and it could be pretty startling because it was really loud as they would come right by. Really, I mean, that would be the same here, of course, but it seemed to happen there quite a bit because we were across from the station. But that would sometimes just wake you up from, whatever state you were in in meditation.
I just wanted to add that one of the practices I've started that's been really helpful in this line, and that kind of mirrors what you're talking about with the sounds outside, was, I think several weeks back, we're talking about having COVID, and I think someone commented to you, this can be your Buddha. Like, what is in this? What is the lesson here? And I've really, when encountering hardship, have really started to try and change those experiences, like 180, and say, this is an opportunity. What is in this for me? What can I take away from this and grow from? And then from that, I have another question, or I have a question. How do we balance? So this pursuit of happiness, if we're seeking happiness, how do we balance that with growth and not being overindulgent, not trying to seek it aimlessly or without purpose? Does that make sense?
So it's one of the paradoxes of practice is that if you seek it, you miss it. So how do you seek happiness? Well, you don't. You live on purpose. You pay attention, more closely to what's going on. You pay attention to the good things that arise. When you notice that you're caught up in the negative cycles, it's like the Dalai Lama and Bishop Tutu's book, Foundations of Joy, and talk about humility. Well, if you seek humility, I mean, if I go, oh, a humble guy I am, well, okay, I just blew it, right? It's kind of like trying to seek serenity in meditation. You sort of can, but mostly you just need to settle your mind on an object, and then the serenity arises. So happiness is going to come about as a result from being engaged with others, being engaged in meaningful activity, developing states of mind like gratitude, which you do through deliberately paying attention to things that are supporting you and that sort of stuff. And then happiness, is something that you just kind of find yourself in, I guess.
Really challenging not to be identified with the good states, seek the good states, the peaceful and the calm, and like I just went, push anger, push those kinds of things away. And it's so much attachment.
But so like anger arises. So you don't own your thoughts, right? Thoughts happen. They're like So and Roshi, I think it was, called them secretions of the mind. They come up. So, but are you going to nurture it, or are you just going to let it go? Right? So you go, oh, angry thought. Let me let that go. And sometimes it keeps wanting to come back. Okay, well, let it come back and then let it go again. It's like anxiety. If you are anxious about public speaking, for example, if it arises and you try to push it away, oh no, wait a minute, I got to calm myself down. What's going to happen is you go, oh, okay, I'm anxious. Well, let me go give a talk. Focus on what it is that you've got to do. Accept that feelings are natural. Coexist with the unpleasant ones. And as you coexist with them, then they actually extinguish. It's like, did you ever smoke? Yeah, but you remember what it's like to quit, right? It's unpleasant. Every time that unpleasant feeling arises, if you give into it, what happens? You stay hooked. If you go, okay, unpleasant feeling, craving, nicotine fit, whatever you called it, right? If you just write it out, it passes, and then you don't get them anymore.
Good analogy.
Huh?
That's a good analogy. That
Yeah.
helps.
Well, and that's really kind of the way craving works in general. It's all, something comes in through the sense doors. We have a feeling, a good feeling, a neutral feeling, an unpleasant feeling. And then we want to hang on to it or let it go. Or we want to make it better. If you just go, oh, unpleasant feeling, and leave it at that, don't let it take you over, then, now you're in what you do have control over to a large extent is your actions, how you react to something like that. And so when you work on your action, focusing on what you do, then you get to cultivate happiness. Okay? Yeah.
Figure that out. That should be more consistent.
All right. Okay, let's do the great vows. Find them. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Louder delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Whisper, creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Friends, I respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us must strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed, do not squander this life. Please stand.